In our house of two parents raised by tried and true New Yorkers, we spend an enormous amount of time curbing our colorful enthusiasm around our highly verbal 3-year-old. I think the F word has been muttered all but once in his presence, and I'm pretty sure it happened when he fell backwards down 17 stairs. We do a pretty good job, and when my husband and I are displeased with something, we usually say to one another, well, that totally S-U-C-K-S. We are the family who says, oopsie daisy, and spells out the word sucks. Mind you, away from my kids, I have the mouth of a saucy trucker. The point being, we really make an effort. A few months ago, I was roughhousing with my son, and he looked at me while raising a stuffed Curious George doll in his arms and exclaimed, I'm going to cock you in the eye. I was horrified by the incorrect usage of a word we do not say in our house, and rather than give it any attention, I decided to ignore it. He has since come to use the term interchangeably with the word pop, as in, I'm going to cock you. Can you cock this for me? Or cock it over here and I'll catch it. No matter how many times I explain that cock is not a word, he uses it. So we're working on ignoring and refuting that behavior. More recently, I had both kids with me at the drugstore. I had placed my bags in the bottom of the stroller to walk out, and my verbal 3-year-old picks up a pack of gum, places it on the counter, and says to the clerk, I'd like some D-I-C-K-S, please. The clerk said, excuse me? And my son repeated the phrase, verbatim, including spelling of the word dicks, only louder this time. I put the gum back in the case and ushered him out of the door 50 shades of mortified. After nap, I asked him what he wanted for snack, and he replied, I think I'll just have some D-I-C-K-S and a yogurt. There it is again. Awesome. This is staying with us. I've come to realize that he came up with his own version of the way we spell S-U-C-K with incorrect letters and context. So much for spelling things around your kids. One evening, I was chopping vegetables with a large knife while my kids played on the floor in the kitchen. My oldest has a constant stream of consciousness flowing out of his mouth at all times. I wasn't giving him my undivided attention because I was trying to make dinner. So I answered him with the occasional yes, or I don't know if all birds eat fish, but some birds do, and I'm really not sure what acorns taste like. My husband had been working more than usual, and it was clearly weighing on our son's mind. Out of the blue, he said, so do sick people get to Daddy on the ambulance? Some people do, but some go to the hospital in their own car. Does Daddy weigh them? No, I don't think he weighs people. Does Daddy take their blood pressure? Nope, he doesn't take blood pressure either. Then how does Daddy help people? I thought he's a doctor and he helps people. This is where I should have realized that I was not giving him my undivided attention and told him we would talk about it later. Instead, I half-heartedly continued the conversation. Well, he fixes people. He fixes people with what? Chopping vegetables, the word scalpel, came into my mind. But I quickly looked down at my hand and said, with a knife. Daddy cuts people with a knife? Oh, honey, it's okay, though, because the people are asleep. Daddy cuts people with a knife while they're sleeping? My son was horrified. Shit. So I tried to backpedal and fix something that was said without thinking, while my son's eyes are popping clear out of his head. No, the people are just fine. He actually uses other tools like a wrench and a hammer and tubes. He uses lots of tubes. Now I'm a complete babbling idiot and I have no idea what I've just said to my child. He continues to repeat the ridiculous description I've given him of his dad's job for the remainder of the evening. And as my husband walks through the door, he runs up to him and says, Daddy, do you cut people in their sleep with a knife and then fix them with a wrench and a hammer? My husband looks at me and says, I guess there was a conversation that went terribly wrong. And you know what? In my defense, The one thing that I was able to not blurt out is that my son's daddy fixes people's penises. I know I will be infinitely judged for my assumed foul mouth as my kid goes around saying cock and spelling D-I-C-K-S as people mutter to themselves, clearly a urologist child. And the moral of the story is, think before you speak, or don't, because in the end they'll say whatever they want anyway, and it will always be your fault.